DMs of Reddit, what is a very funny thing that your players have done in a game of Dungeons & Dragons? Part 1. My boyfriend is a DM and this is what he has to share. Kind of stupid, but it got the group laughing pretty hard. We were in a very serious moment and the fighter was next in terms of being interrogated by guards. For the record, we all know it's him. This guy was ripping ass all night so far. Can I try to sneak away? Sure. Roll a disadvantage since you're basically face to face with 3 guards. First was a 20 and a 19. You know what? Fuck it. You know those beans you had for lunch? Well, when you ripped as a second ago, it created a diversion with its smell, and you Scooby-Doo sneaked away. When the guards are done choking and are trying to fill their lungs with fresh air, they don't notice a damn thing. This video is sponsored by Adventurers Coffee Company. On one faithful, dark, and stormy day, a few companions working together in a stressful environment simply desired one thing: a good cup of coffee. These nerds banded together to bring us Adventurers Coffee Company. Their aim was to use their past as nerds, gamers, and outdoorsmen to create themed grinds and beans for all those who enjoyed a hot brew. Based out of Calera, Alabama, they offer brews such as their earthy and smoky Dungeons and Dark Roast for D&D nerds, Fair Maiden, Base Camp, and even Bean to the Future. Using code Mr. Ripper at checkout nets you a deliciously devilish 10% off your purchases too. Ain't that a steal of a deal? Their adventure is just getting started. But what about yours? With fast delivery and great customer appreciation, yours can get started right now. You can also follow them on Twitter at AdventurersCC. So this story is part funny for me and part sad for the players. It was my first time DMing and it was Lost Mines of Phandelver. I noticed there was a big pool of water and there was nothing in it, so I decided to put an adult black dragon in there. When I did this, I noticed the big bad evil guy didn't really have a goal. So I made him want to meet his father again, who was this dragon. I made him half dragon, half dark elf. When the party got into this room, they saw some sort of creature just leap out of this water and eat another creature whole. And then the party kinda got nervous. They had the great idea to then use a potion of water breathing they had and send the barbarian into the water. After he got to a certain depth, this dragon charged at him and stopped exactly 2 inches before this barbarian's face with his bright yellow eyes and sharp teeth and said, "Chip chop, mate," in the heaviest Australian, British, I don't know which it was, one of the two, accent I could. He and the barbarian had a quick chat before this dragon, which the barbarian named Jacob, swam straight up to the rest of the party and broke the surface of the water and again said, "Chip chop, mates." And then the session ended. They then spent the entire next session just talking with him, where many people asked him if he wanted to hear music, where he said he only listened to his kids' music. The following session, they returned onto the main goal, where they came across the big bad evil guy, where the party started to treat him like shit. For the whole damn time, even when I dropped hints. When Neznar, the big bad evil guy, dropped into this pool of water and revealed his true appearance to the entire party, they just felt extremely bad about themselves, which I found to be very funny. To then attempt to lighten the mood, I made it so along the side the constant beating of the waves, the workers on the mine can hear both Jacob and Neznar singing together. In a pirate homebrew campaign, my players were being ambushed by merfolk with a siren twist. Most of the players had fallen overboard the Nana, the joke name they came up with for their ship that stuck with us the rest of the campaign, due to the sirens' enchanted songs luring them into the water, and were now fighting off the merfolk while trying to stay afloat. On the ship, there were 2 players left. Some merfolk were jumping onto the deck and lunging at them with their coral spears. Our orc sorcerer had one lunge towards him, but didn't dodge in time. The siren was now laying atop our badly wounded orc sorcerer, noses almost touching. The player then decides to headbutt the siren and rolls a nat 1. He grabs her head and thrusts his head past over her shoulder, and now is effectively hugging her. She tries to release himself from this weird headlock and stab him with her spear. She rolls a 3. She stabs her spear into the deck and is now stuck. And so is she. These two continue to flop around on the deck for a few turns, both player and NPC rolling too badly to be able to do anything. The other player on the deck, our barbarian turtle chef, who has been firing down at the merfolk in the water with a cannon, finally takes pity on the pathetic situation the orc has found himself in. She grabs her trusty frying pan and tries to whack the siren off of him. Nat 1. She lets go of her frying pan as she swings it, and it flies over the orc's and mermaid's head and over the railings of the ship. In a dramatic scene, the turtle screams several curse words in Aquan and dramatically jumps overboard after the frying pan, leaving her crewmate behind to deal with the siren on his own. The player rolled high, so she caught the frying pan midair and cannonballed into the water below. Evidently, the turtle chef has her priorities straight. The table erupted with laughter at this point, and my players still talk about that battle to this day. TLDR, Orc Sorcerer frolics around on deck with a siren, and the turtle chef proves where her loyalties really lie. In one campaign, I created a guy named Soltis. He was really rich and he owned several villages and he talked like typical rich Brit. And one player, Custom Race Fighter Barbarian, was so stupid that when he talked to him, he needed to roll to understand him. Here's the story. I would like to talk to you more, but I think I can't talk with you in moments like this. Sorry, I need to go. Rolls a nat 1. You're pretty sure he's insulting you right now, what you're doing. I grab him, I lift him up, and I shout, "What did you say about my mother?" My party was level 8 at the time. They ventured into a city and quickly realized things weren't right, and vampires had taken over positions of high power. One of the players, the barbarian named Thog Greyhammer, split off from the rest of the group to deliver a message to an ally in town. Never split the party. Sick. I'm gonna ambush him with a vampire spawn and turn his character into a vampire. Oh boy, was I wrong. When Thog was confronted by the vampire spawn, who, by the way, was a gnome, Thog was running in the shadows of the buildings along the road to avoid the heat. It was about 5 in the afternoon, so the buildings were covering about half the street with shadow anyway. The vampire spawn decided to launch itself at Thog, biting his leg and scratching him for some decent damage. Thog then proceeded to grapple this angry chihuahua of a vampire and drag him across the road into what little sunlight there was. He then proceeded to body slam the vampire spawn and, unarmed, bludgeon this gnome half to death on the side of the road where every bystander could see. The combination of barbarian punches and sunlight damage was enough to make the gnome retreat. The gnome made his check to escape just barely and began to crawl away. His skin burned from the sun and his face and chest partially crushed. He hit the shade and finally healed for 10 HP. Thog got off the ground, walked over, grabbed the gnome by his shirt, then dragged him back into the sunlight, where he punched the vampire a few more times before the sun finally disintegrated the vampire spawn, scattering the dust all around. Thog was only at like half health because of his rage. This quickly earned him the nickname Midget Boiler. And no bystanders dare report him to the guard in fear of suffering the same fate as that now pile of ashes. All in all, it was amazingly fun, and the whole combat lasted like 1 minute in-game. But by God did he have amazing rolls and ruthless ferocity. Never change, Thog Midget Boiler Greyhammer. They were level 3, trying to save a town being invaded by dragon cultists and an adult dragon. Pre-written module. They got to a burning church with about half the townsfolk in it and saw a very large cultist patrol pass by once. The bard disguised self and went up to the 4 non-patrolling cultists and asked them to move to the front, rolled super low 2 times, and couldn't get them to move. Then the party just, left? Walked away from a burning church full of villagers and tried to return to the mayor empty-handed. So anyways, we scrapped that campaign and started a new pre-written one, where I said in character creation, "You are adventurers. You all want to be adventurers. You will seek adventure." Players were working with a homebrew demi-goddess to write a song to summon a dead god they planned to use as evidence to convince a group of people that their church has been infiltrated and converted by a cult. To help, they grabbed the gnome from the black market who played an accordion. The gnome pissed off the demi-goddess, so she shoved him into his own accordion. Moments later, the players are called into a meeting with the king. As you enter the king's chambers, you are greeted with the sounds of bells, wind chimes, and a court of various races who bow to you in greeting. Hey wizard, look, a gnome. The wizard and all players break down laughing. Is there something funny about me being a gnome? Oh shit, is that the king? Uh-huh. In our second campaign, we had one new player who was in the first 2 combat encounters, rolled really well, and in character started to become incredibly arrogant, believing that the party was holding her back. At second level, she broke away from the group to chase down a gnome who she suspected of being involved. Involved with what? After catching him, she attempted to hit him with Ice Knife. I rolled a 16 plus 5. That hits. For damage, I roll... If it's a ranged spell attack at 5 foot, you have disadvantage. Naturally, she rolled a 1. I don't do critical misses, but I do describe the player's incompetence as she cockily reached out her hand and cast the spell. She drops the material component Water Drop, and the Ice Knife plops into the ground between them. Everyone is already laughing at this, including her, before our wizard chimes in. Doesn't Ice Knife explode? A quick check from the rules confirms it does. 2d6 damage on a failed dex save to anyone within 5 feet, hit or miss, rolls are made. The gnome got a 16, and our druid got a 14, 1 below her own spell saving throw. She laughs. Having only taken 2 damage and still having 12 HP left, she rolls 2 6s. I describe as the ice knife in the dirt between them explodes in their faces. The unarmed elderly gnome, standing at a whopping 3.5 foot tall, ducks to the ground, easily avoiding it as our druid is pierced by a dozen shards of ice, getting knocked unconscious. Thankfully, she passed her death saves as the party, who she left behind, didn't think to check up on her progress and found her half an hour later unconscious in an alleyway, missing her coin purse, which had been taken by the gnome. Sadly, she is still a lone wolf who doesn't play well with the party 25 sessions later. Made a magical shotgun. Dealt 53 damage to a wyvern in 1 turn using only a first level spell and several uses of a cantrip to prepare it. The wizard and warlock had been scheming this since the campaign was first announced. I will openly admit now I allowed it to be cool, but have warned them they can't do it again because it relied on the fact that the wizard had misread one of the spells involved. But basically, the wizard had, in the previous town, asked if he could get a bucket with a loop welded on the bottom. I knew this was related to the shotgun, which they hinted at, but not yet properly explained. When combat initiated with the wyvern, they were underleveled for it because I knew of the shotgun and wanted to see it. The warlock immediately started casting magic stone on each of her turns, imbuing 3 stones with magical properties so they deal 1d6 plus her spellcasting modifier when thrown, with the wizard connecting the bucket to a rope and waiting for the wyvern to get closer. It got closer than he would have liked, sooner than he would have liked, so he launched the shotgun. They put all magic stones, 9 at a time, in the bucket, firmly attached one end of the rope to the loop on the bucket, and cast Catapult on the bucket, launching it at the wyvern's face. It stopped short 2 feet before launching every single one of those rocks at the wyvern. 9d6 plus 27 damage in 1 hit. Did nearly half its damage, and that's when it tried to flee. Hey everyone, Brian here. If you liked today's video, then how about leaving us a big thumbs up? If you're a new viewer, then hey, welcome to the party, pal. Use your bonus action and subscribe, and of course, ring that bell too. It lets you get notified whenever we go live or upload a new video. If you'd like to submit a story, you can do so in the comments below as long as it pertains to the topic of the vid, or you can head over to r/Mr. Ripper to post it there too. Also, if you want to follow Mr. Ripper on his Twitter, Discord, or other social media outlets, check the links in the description below. And if you're feeling up to it, you can use a help action so you can come follow me on YouTube or Twitter, or even join my Discord where I even have my own little tabletop gaming chat in there too. You can find the links to all of those in the description below. I stream Wednesdays and Saturdays, uploading videos throughout the week, all to do with voice acting or gaming. Lastly, if you're a fan of coffee, then I wholeheartedly reinforce all of my advertisements for Adventurers Coffee Company and wish that you guys and gals out there try them. We genuinely do love them because not only have they been our very first sponsor, but they've been loyal friends and great people since day one. We honestly can't recommend them enough, and we just want them to get the love they deserve. Check the description for all their info and our personal discount code on their site. Business talk is now dead and out of the way. I hope everyone here has been doing well, and that the last few weeks or days of August is at least perking up for a lot of you. I know a lot of crap's been happening in the world lately, so here's hoping it's getting better for you personally. What have you been doing this month overall, by the way? What have you achieved for some of your goals of the month? What's been going down? Let me know in the comments below. I do read them, by the way, and even though I don't always respond because I'm a bit asocial and swamped with comments, I do at least like all of your comments as much as I can. Trust me, I will read through everything, and I will at least give you a like to acknowledge the fact that someone gave a damn enough to read it. So remember, folks, even if you don't feel like responding to somebody else, please like their comments. At least let them know that you read it and that they're actively not just talking to the ether. Because, at least in my book, you're not. You're all here to me, and I love all of you. So who knows? At least you might make someone smile by liking their comment even if you don't respond to it. Trust me. It might sound silly to some of you, but one like, even a like on a comment, can make someone laugh, smile, or even cry with happiness. Next time. Bye for now.